Hi, we are 3 days away from one of the most important global events, and it will be for years to come. COP26, or the 26th Conference of Parties who have signed the United Nations Convention on Climate Change. Now, why is this conference important? It is happening after a gap of 2 years interrupted by COVID-19. Over 30,000, including political leaders, Prime Minister Modi, NGOs, businesses, scientists, activists and protesters will convene in Glasgow, Scotland. This COP marks 5 years since a landmark climate change treaty called the Paris Agreement was signed. 191 countries, including India, plus the European Union, agreed to take concrete steps to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius and, if possible, limit it to 1.5 degrees Celsius. All 192 agreed to take stock of their individual progress towards these goals every 5 years. Now this year, even as countries are held accountable for their pledges and contributions, a recent, terrifying but landmark report by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC, hangs like a shadow. It is the most confident climate projection for the 21st century by over 200 climate scientists. The report says we have already let global temperatures increase by 1.1 degrees Celsius, a level that has not been witnessed since 125,000 years ago, before the most recent ice age. A rise of just 0.4 degrees Celsius more, and we hit the best case target of the Paris Agreement. When that happens, at least 14% of the world's population will be exposed to searing, unrelenting heat waves once every 5 years. The worst hit will be places that combine high temperatures with high humidity, like Mumbai, Manila, Karachi and Kinshasa. We will all face more flooding, more storms and more forest fires. Storm surges enhanced by sea level rise will threaten more than 40% of coastal nuclear power plants worldwide. Higher temperatures will also expand habitable zones for mosquitoes and other disease-carrying species. So over 50% of the global population will be exposed to dengue, yellow fever and Zika virus by 2050. Higher temperatures will also disrupt the water cycle, so reduced crop yields, declining nutritional values of basic food. As a result, 80 million more people will be at risk of hunger by 2050. An increase of just 0.4 degrees Celsius more will mean depletion of groundwater, water scarcity. Up to 75% of heavily tapped groundwater supply, which is the main source of potable water for 2.5 billion people, could also be disrupted by 2050. The biggest and most frightening takeaway of the IPCC report is, a decade ago, scientists believed that limiting global warming to 2 degrees Celsius would be enough to safeguard our future until 2100 at least, which explains the goals of the Paris Agreement. But if we continue the way we are going, building, living, exploiting, we are heading for 3 degrees Celsius at best, which means a child born today will see one or more of these climate change induced events and impacts before it turns 30. The report is likely to be one of the focal points of COP26, especially its recommendation of global net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. Ending the use of coal is actually one of the stated objectives of the COP26 conference, a suggestion that is not sitting well with all countries. A huge leak of documents seen by BBC News shows how countries are trying to get the UN to play down the need to move away from fossil fuels ahead of COP26, arguably to change the nature and intensity of the pressure they will face. For instance, an advisor to the Saudi Oil Ministry demands phrases like the need for urgent and accelerated mitigation actions at all scales should be eliminated from the report. One senior Australian government official rejects the conclusion that closing coal-fired power plants is necessary. Saudi Arabia is one of the biggest oil producers in the world, and Australia is a major coal exporter. Even India has written in. A senior scientist from India's Central Institute of Mining and Fuel Research has written to the UN to clarify that coal is likely to remain in the mainstay of energy production for decades in the developing country. India, the third largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world, is yet to commit to net zero emissions by 2050 and is likely to face pressure to do so at COP26. It's not just India or a handful of other countries. The United Nations Environment Programme's latest production gap report looked at countries' development plans and found that 110% more fossil fuels will be produced this decade than what is needed to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So that IPCC forewarning I listed out, it's not an off chance. It is the more likely option of what is to happen. We'll be tracking the summit here at Newsworthy and will direct our focus on environment and climate change news and reports more than usual in the coming days to contextualize this all-important conversation. I will stop here today. My name is Pallavi Prasad. If you found value in this video, do share, like, comment. There's a link in the bio or description where you can make a monetary contribution towards our efforts to build good journalism if you want to bet on us. To those of you who have been listening, thank you so much for your time.